Good morning, and thank you for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering how the Tyson versus Paul fight may be canceled, LeBron James reaching the most 30-point games in NBA history, and since we switched stuff up, we're going to be doing dating horror stories again today, so you guys get a little double dose of that. But before we start, I just want to remind you guys to like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Hello, Tate. How are you doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay today?
Yes.
Okay. So first off, went a whole month without clipping
Yeah, I know.
anything off.
It's so funny to see Tate like after he decides to shave everything off.
Yes.
It's like a different person.
Yes, it is so different, is it not?
Yeah.
So for the fans out there or the people who listen, I haven't reached puberty yet after 54 years, and so I don't shave.
Yeah.
And so I have to let it grow. So what you saw last week was a month of not cutting my hair, not shaving.
Yeah.
That's as much hair as I can grow, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone else, a month would they'd be like a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
No, not me,
Yeah.
not me at all. So, all right. So how was your weekend?
My weekend was a lot of fun. I partied too hard this weekend, but I did have a lot of fun. My boyfriend did a pop-up this weekend, and they did burgers, and it was just like like a fancy Big Mac basically, but it was
Okay.
so good. It was so delicious. And then my boyfriend did the pastry for it, and he did like an avocado pudding with like this coconut cream on top with a little twirl cookie on it, and it was so good.
Okay.
And we went out with his friends afterwards, and so we had a good time, good weekend.
Wait, what exactly you said is so like a gourmet Big Mac? Can you give me a little
Yeah.
more on that? Because I first off, I love the Big Macs. So you can't
So
be toying with my emotions by giving me a little bit of that.
they did 3 separate patties, so you had a choice. They had like a mushroom patty, a beef patty, and then a tuna patty. I had the beef patty and the tuna patty, and they were both really good. They like made their own kind of like take on a Big Mac sauce and had
Hmm.
lettuce. There was cheese on there. I believe there were like pickled jalapenos on there too. It was just, oh, it was so good. It was delicious.
Nice. And
So,
what was this a big event? What was it?
so the guy that my boyfriend works with, he's going to be opening up a restaurant in my town soon, and so they're just doing some pop-ups to like kind of put their name out there for when they open up their restaurant. And the guy actually was on this latest season of Top Chef. So
Nice.
yeah, so
Top Chef wouldn't be one I would go on. The one I would go on is Chopped.
chopped.
I was doing I was doing the Chop show before that was the Everest show.
Hmm.
Didn't even know it was a concept. I was big on, I've always been big on doing dinner parties, and I'm a
Hmm.
good cook.
Hmm.
So I would have my friends come over and they would bring the ingredients,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't know what the ingredients would be, and
Oh,
they'd
so
bring
you would
them.
do
And
like
then
you do like your
yes,
own little cooking competition
and
at your
then
house.
and so I would make like a 6 or 7 course meal out of whatever
Hmm.
they brought.
That's pretty
And we
cool.
spend the whole day doing, like, I do spend the whole day with them. I'd be making food, and then it ends with me doing like a 6 or 7 course meal. So I was
Hmm.
always a big cook. And then the show Chop came out. I'm like, oh, even I've been doing that for years. I want royalties on that one.
Yeah, so if you guys are watching Top Chef, this new season of Top Chef, I know someone on Top Chef, so
Nice.
and it's really cool to watch the show when you know someone, because I feel like it makes it more
Whole
interesting
different
when
dynamic.
when you actually know someone on the show. Yeah. So,
When you've been in media as long as I've been in media, and you get to know people who are on shows or things like
mhm,
that, it changes the whole thing.
yeah.
Or I've been I've been privileged enough to work on a number of different like movie sets and things of that
Mhm.
nature. And then you see the movie being shot and everything that goes into it, and you're like, and then you watch the movie and it's
Yeah.
just like, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so I've been privileged to see a number of different ways in
Mhm.
the media world.
Yeah.
So that's also just to give the audience a heads up. We have been having power issues this Monday, and
Mhm.
we've lost power twice. So if power goes out, Miss Faith will be flying solo
Which I really
for a
hope
little
doesn't
bit.
happen.
And my commitment to you, Faith, is if power goes out, I will jump back on as quick as humanly possible
Gotcha.
so that we can keep on doing the show. But you may be riding without training wheels.
I could
So I
do it.
will.
It's just I don't really want to.
No, oh, you are totally capable of doing it. It's just like
Yeah.
it's the nerves. Another side note before we dive into our topics.
Tate's
We
gonna
did the
tell
show,
my
the college
business.
foot. Yeah, we putting our business out in the streets today. We did the college football show, and
Yes.
Faith does this show with me all the time. It's a
Hmm.
mere bag of shells,
Yeah.
no big deal. She does the college football show. She gets nervous.
I was so
That was
nervous.
weird. It was so weird to be
It
like,
was
why is
because
Faith nervous?
so when we do the podcast and we do streaming, we have a certain system that we use, and so I always work the system when Tate and I do the show. But we went on somebody else's show, and they were working the system, and I was just on Zoom, and I was like, "This is really weird and uncomfortable, and I don't like
You could totally tell
it."
Faith
Yeah,
had lost control of the
yeah.
wheel. Somebody else was driving, and Faith was in the back seat and was not liking it
Yeah, I
at
was just like,
all.
ugh. I think it went well though. I think it was a good
No, it went
show. Yeah.
fantastic. But see, I know you well enough that I'm looking at you and I'm more amazed as I'm watching. I'm like, Faith isn't comfortable with this.
Yeah.
She's not good with this at all.
Yeah.
So that made my day because it was so weird because you're the consummate professional. Everything is all dialed in perfectly,
Hmm.
and you could tell that you didn't have control.
Yeah.
And that was I learned a little bit about you that yesterday on
Yeah.
Friday. But
Hmm.
guys, check out the college football podcast on GSMC.
Hmm.
We had a great show.
Hmm.
Everything went without a hitch. Faith put her 2.5 cents in on this. I put my $1.50 in, and it ended up being a good show.
Yeah, I think so.
So, all right, let's dive into this
Alrighty.
before power goes out and you have to cover all the
Yeah.
topics. So,
Okay, so the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight is at risk of being canceled as Texas boxing authorities speak out. So Mike Tyson's highly anticipated comeback fight against Jake Paul is at risk for cancellation should the former heavyweight champion fail two scientific tests. Boxing fans are polarized about the proposed bout currently set to take place in Texas on July 20th. Tyson, who is retired from the sport in 2005, will be 58 by the time he steps into the ring. The back end of his career resulted in the baddest man on the planet losing to low-ranking fighters like Danny Williams and Kevin McBride. Tyson quit on his stool against the latter, declaring he no longer harbored the desire to lace up the gloves. However, Tyson revealed the gods of war had reawakened him in 2020 ahead of an expedition with fellow veteran Jones Jr. Almost 4 years on, Iron Mike, who remains the youngest heavyweight champion in history, will take on a man 31 years his junior. Paul, alongside his brother Logan, shot to stardom as a social media personality and YouTuber. Recent years have seen him step into boxing, entering KO victories against former UFC fighters and journeymen. The 27-year-old suffered his first career loss to Tommy Fury 13 months ago and has steadily rebuilt since then. However, a mammoth clash against a Hall of Famer is set to capture a global audience. Netflix will stream the event to subscribers at no extra cost, providing the bout. Go ahead. A telemanaged communication manager from the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation told US Today that Tyson must pass an EEG and an EKG test to be cleared in the fight. Concerns over Tyson's age is the main talking point ahead of the contest, triggering fury towards Paul from boxing purists. As it stands, punters are unsure whether Tyson versus Paul will be a professional bout or scheduled as an exposition. So, I really hope it's not canceled.
All right. So, first off, the fact that he has to do these tests, I'm a little surprised because I feel like every fighter should get an EEG and an EKG before the fight. I mean, that should be, I feel like that should just be basic. Those are not real intrusive tests. You know, you test the heart, test to make sure the brain is working fine. Those are actual things that I think every fighter should have. But especially when you're talking about a fighter who is the oldest fighter to ever to be fighting, you know, youngest heavyweight champion ever. Now he's 58, 48. I mean, 58. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on, you know, these are some of the things that are, I think, just necessary. I'm surprised that it's just those two tests. I would have been like, you know, when I first heard this, I'm like, good, they need to put him through a whole battery of tests. But those are, I think, like, those are just basic tests. I would be like running every type of blood work, everything under the sun. You have a 58-year-old man about to step in the ring with a 28-year-old man. And certain tests to make sure that all the risks are taken care of is like important. It's kind of weird. What popped in my head is because Mike Tyson's the youngest, and now he's one of the oldest to ever do it. And I'm a big history buff. And just recently I found out, no politics here, I'm not talking politics, but it surprised me that when Joe Biden was just put in office, he was the youngest senator in history to ever become a senator. And now he's like the oldest president in the history of mankind, you know? And there's no politics behind that, just saying how that would have to be that's a weird thing. If you're Mike or President Biden, to be like, people are questioning, are you too young to be doing this? If people are interviewing you of being the youngest ever to do it, are you too young? And now people are interviewing you. Aren't you too old to be doing it? Do you understand how mentally that would just be weird? That would just, I feel like that would mess with my mind a little bit.
Very like Truman Show.
Yes.
Type situation,
because,
you know,
to be on both ends of that spectrum, to be famous for being the youngest to ever do it. And now people are questioning, are you too old? That you shouldn't be doing this. You're way too old to be doing this. It's weird.
I wonder if they're going to make Jake Paul, right, do it as well. I wonder if they're going to make him go through those tests as well, or is it?
It doesn't sound like it's a regular one, but I feel like every football player, anyone that's in a contact sport,
No, I
should
feel it.
get these tests. Matter of fact, I would say anyone in a professional sport before the game should get an EEG and an EKG. And what makes me think that is I think about LeBron's son, Bronny, going into
Yeah,
cardiac arrest.
yeah.
There's been numerous players over the years who have gone into cardiac arrest during sporting events, uh, or getting preparing for sporting events. So I feel like these are just standard tests that they're not intrusive, and I think any athlete should have those on a pretty regular basis. Not I know they're not things that are they're abnormal, but I feel like they should be part of the normal. Another thing that stuck out in this article is they still haven't determined if this is going to be an exhibition or an actual fight. I don't want
Now,
it to be go ahead, what are you gonna say?
what is the difference between those two? I don't think I really know what the difference is between an exposition and a fight.
Okay. Technically speaking, an exhibition is where we get out there, we spar. I'm not really going 100%. You're not going 100%. I'm not trying to knock you out. We're sparring. We're working out. It's a fun event, but it's kind of a gentleman's agreement. We're not going to knock each other out. We're not going to hurt each other as bad as we would
Okay.
normally do it. An actual fight is
All
I'm
man for
coming to
himself.
knock your head
Yeah.
off. I'm planning on knocking you into the third row. That's the difference. And it's just kind of funny. I was just watching a clip of this woman, and she's talking about she only spars with men. And the guy, it was a clip from Cam Newton showing Cam asked, are they going out and all out? And she said, yeah, they better go all out. When you're sparring, you're never going all out. You're not. Your sparring is a part of getting a fighter ready for the event. So you're not really trying to knock someone's block off. The fight is when you go all out. I just saw another clip about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson again about the same topic that we're
Yeah.
talking about right now. So that's what made me pause for a quick second. So it's kind of interesting. I hope that Tyson gets a ton of tests done on him, and then I hope that he gets cleared, and that it's actually a real fight,
Yeah.
because I'm going to be glued to the set watching it. My mind tells me Jake is going to it's not even going to be competitive. Jake's going to go right through him. My heart is with Iron Mike, and it's like, man, what a story this would be.
Yeah.
One thing that is cool though is this is going to be on Netflix, which you don't think of Netflix as a place, a destination for sports. I think this is an ingenious move by Netflix. Anyone that has Netflix get to watch it for free. This is not a pay-per-view event.
Yeah.
If you have Netflix, you get to watch this fight. And Netflix is, I think, the largest streaming service there is. A lot of people are going to watch that fight. I think this thing's going to do like huge, huge numbers, and I think it's incredibly smart on Netflix's part to do this. And I hope they do. I hope this thing's a huge success, and that because if this is a huge success, it makes it so Netflix will do more events like this and make it so
Right.
that, you know, there's a world out there where you can have a streaming service and you can watch the fight without having to pay an extra fee on top of it. I love that fact.
Yeah.
And then like I told you before, I'm gonna be screaming like a little girl if Mike catches him and he gets a little wobbly and falls. You're gonna be in Georgia. You're gonna hear this little high pitched noise come over your ear. That's just me screaming from Portugal. Like it's gonna be. You're gonna think, did a little girl fall outside somewhere? No, that's Tate. That's just Tate screaming.
Yeah, I really
So
hope that this fight actually goes on because I'm very excited. It's already put in my planner. will have the day off, and I will watch that fight as well. I'm very excited. So I hope it's still scheduled for that passes all the tests, and that it'll go on forward as scheduled. So,
And that's the thing about boxing. Boxing is appointment viewing.
mm.
It's like you just said, I already got it on my calendar. I already set this time aside. There's very few things like boxing and a big MMA fight where you're like, oh, I'm booking this time. It's like a slice of cake. I'm just cutting this piece out and setting it aside.
Yeah.
Right here. This is my time for this.
Yeah.
So don't be trying to book anything during that time.
Yeah.
So
Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing LeBron James and now how he has now had the most 30-point games in NBA history. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.